Ah, the killer's talisman. I'm sure that this was just the sort of thing Madame Cassandra was talking about.
Hello, Jim.
Hello, Cassie. Could you put me in a trance?
Of course. Let's begin. Now relax. Concentrate on the locket. Block everything else out. Concentrate, concentrate, concentrate.
I've got to rush off. I'll explain later.
What about
I'm sorry, I don't have the time. Thanks.
I'm telling you, I saw his secret lab. I saw the way in.
Are you crazy? You know I can't get a warrant out of your trip to a crystal gazer.
There's no time for a warrant. I thought you'd want to know when I'd come across the killer. I guess I was wrong. But something weird happened down there, and I'm gonna find out what it was. With or without you.
Wait, kid! I want in on this cockamamie scheme of yours.
You got to smoke.
I didn't know you smoked, kid.
I do now.
Come on, kid. I thought you knew what you were doing.
Are you ready, Detective? Our killer's hideout's right down those steps.
I called some of my men. They should be here to back us up soon. But just in case. What the hell? Jesus. Looks like we're a little late to help victim number 9.
That can't be. It's him.
You know the stiff?
That's the killer. I'm sure of it.
You were wrong, Jim. That poor sap couldn't be the killer. But at least we found his hideout, even if he isn't here. You did good work. We'll get some clues we can use out of this.
And they're all gonna point to that man right there on the altar, Detective. That's the killer. I'm sure of it. There's his cane. Someone took it.
Took what, kid?
The Dahlia. It's missing.
Elliot, I want these amateurs removed immediately. They've botched everything. Why, if we hadn't been tipped off that they were down here...
Amateurs, we just bust this case wide open. We weren't too chicken to...
I had enough sense to get a search warrant.
You're
now
just
we won't be able to use
sore.
one shred of evidence.
Sore because we found the killer's hideout first. You're worried our mugs will be on the front page instead of yours.
There'll be no contact with the press about this.
Mr. Ness?
You just busted illegally into a club owned by some very important people. People with contacts to Washington, all the way to the top. They're gonna be very unhappy with what we found here.
You can't just cover this
Mr.
up.
Pearson, you're way out of your jurisdiction here. You're in no position to be arguing with anyone.
But how can you...
I'm gonna do what's in the best interest of this country. President Roosevelt was just on the radio. The Japs have bombed Pearl Harbor. We're going to war.
My involvement with the Torso murders ended with little fanfare in December of 1941. Officially, the case remained open and unsolved, but no new bodies were ever found, and no new suspects ever turned up. The mess at the Raven Room was hushed up, but there were those of us who knew that a 9th victim was found in a secret lab underneath the streets of Cleveland. They later identified him as Dr. Eisenstadt, an expatriated Austrian aristocrat who had fled Europe during the rise of Hitler's Nazi Party. Whether this man was merely the last of a series of victims, as the police believed, or the Torso killer himself, as I had always suspected, no one was able to say. His murderer remained unknown and at large. In early '42, I finally got my wish and was transferred out of Cleveland. By then, the US of A was up to its neck in the struggle against the Axis, and so the COI had been given new powers and renamed the OSS. I said my goodbyes to Mr. Sullivan and shipped out to Europe. Unfortunately, I couldn't rid myself of Dick Winslow. His connections landed him a cushy new post in England as liaison to the British Secret Service. By spring of '45, things looked good for the Allies. We'd made the push all the way to Nuremberg when I was called in to investigate a bomb-proof vault full of stolen art treasures. My reputation as an expert on Himmler and his SS spook squad and their crazy fascination with the occult, along with what they'd found among the miles of old mine shafts, had the brass calling for me in a hurry. Occult symbols marked the walls. Symbols that bore an uncanny resemblance to a bag of runes I still carried in my possession. It was my first solid lead on the Dahlia in 4 years.
You've been pulling junk out of that joint for hours now. I swear, those crowds hoisted everything but the kitchen sink. I think they even got one of my paintings in there, and I ain't paid it nothing since Mrs. Kaufman's art class in the 5th grade. Say, that reminds me.
You ever come up for air, kid?
What's that, sir? Oh, yeah, the mouth. Yeah, the boys all say I put the powder in Patterson. Patterson, New Jersey, that is. That's where I'm from.
What's your name, Private?
Private Benjamin J. Schwartz. Sir. Most folks just call me Benny.
You're okay, Benny. How about filling me in on this room you found?
Oh, yes, sir, Captain. I'll tell you what, it's a real creep show back in there. Kind of stuff make even Boris Karloff crap in his drawers, you know what I mean? Yeah, some of the boys tried to go back in there, but they got that place all rigged up. Petey was nearly crushed to death when that big door shut on him. Whatever it is they got hidden back there, They sure didn't want just anyone waltzing in and hauling it off. This is it, Captain. Good luck.
Thanks, Benny.
Good work, Captain. I thought it'd take a bazooka to get that thing open.
Thanks, Benny.
Hey, the brass is gonna want to hear about this, and pronto.
Better go tell him then. It's empty. Someone must have beat me to it. Damn. This one's empty too. I hope I'm not too late. At last, the Black Dahlia.
Good work, Captain. We'll take over from here.
Take over what from here?
That gemstone there, I'm gonna have to ask you to hand it over. We're cataloging every item we take out of the place.
I'll do no such thing. I've searched high and low for this gem, and I'll be damned if I turn it over to anybody but my superiors.
Sorry, Captain. Just following orders from General Bradley. If you like, you can take it up with him. In the meantime, I'm gonna have to insist you hand over the gemstone.
All right, Sergeant. I'll play it your way. But you can be sure as hell I'm taking this up with your superiors.
If you like, you can fill out a requisition with the Quartermaster Corps. I doubt you'll have much luck, but you never know.
Soon after the war was over, my outfit, the OSS, had been disbanded. I'd found work as a bounty hunter for the State Department, tracking down war criminals for the tribunals taking place in Nuremberg. It was while I was still there that I received a hot tip from a former Austrian resistance fighter. Several former SS officers were supposed to be gathering at an abandoned monastery near the Swiss-Austrian border. Even more interesting was the small village near the monastery where several corpses had turned up in the surrounding lakes. They'd been dismembered, torso style. A frontal assault seemed too risky, so I searched the place for another way in. I found it almost by accident.